My goal today is to have you walk away with some ideas that can assist you with successfully managing and completing a project within a flat organization. What I would like to do is to ask you to help me out before I start talking by providing some background on you. This is a survey question which I'm going to ask you to complete via chat, and I would like to know if you work with flat organizations, if you plan to work with flat organizations, if you have no plans to work with flat organizations, or if there's another reason why you're attending today's webinar. I will give you a few minutes to post the answers, and then Jessica's going to help me out a little bit here. But it'd be great to get a little bit of information about people that are on the phone and attending the webinar. Doing that, and I'm glancing as I look, so thank you for putting information in. Let me expand a little bit on me, provide a little bit more information, and then I'll talk a little bit about the agenda. After spending quite a few years, large projects within very hierarchical organizations, and I think many of you on the phone would recognize the names, I started working with flat organizations. Now, topics on the agenda is to describe what a flat organization is. So the people that Richard, who he wants a definition of a flat organization, we'll cover that. But as I started working with the flat organizations, I also ran into some challenges. Some of the challenges were because I walked into the organizations and the businesses, nonprofits, taking some of my big organization ideas, approaches, and formality with me. And you'd be surprised, or maybe you would not be surprised if you work with flat organizations, to hear that's too much. It's too formal, it's too much work, it's too much this. I realized quickly I had to change my approach. And as I worked more with flat organizations, I noticed some similarities. These characteristics also helped me evaluate my skills, and in some cases, emphasize skills that I didn't really use in a hierarchical organization or really need to use. So we're going to talk a little bit about organization, and we're going to do it in three areas. First, we're going to define what is a flat organization. We're going to talk about flat organization characteristics, and then the third thing we're going to talk about is refocusing of project management skills. What skills should you think about, training might you need if you decide to go from a hierarchical organization to a flat organization, or what skills maybe you want to strengthen if you've been working with a flat organization. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then just give me a second here as I quickly look at some of the comments on chat.
It looks like a lot of our attendees have worked with all different types of flat organizations.
Yes, and I know some with government, some with education, some that just plan to work with flat. I think we can get some good comments here, Jessica. You are in the education field and you do teach project management. I taught a class at a public university this past fall, and I will say 3/4 of the class that are looking to go on and create their own businesses. Many of those businesses will definitely be flat organizations. So forward, I'm going to start with what is a flat organization. And again, I'm going to ask another little question here. You'll see questions periodically throughout the presentation. How would you describe your experience working with a flat organization for those that work with them? And for those that don't or plan to, perception of what is a flat organization, or what experience might be with a flat organization. I'm not looking for a lot of words, 1 or 2 words, that's it. If you could input that into chat, I would really appreciate it. Authority, all influence. Oh, somebody whose organization is switching from flat to fixed. Some business is growing. Organization type by project sponsor. Lack of organized processes challenging. Not easy to work with, rapid change. More difficult to work with. Ease of communication. Focus. Boring. Informal. Continue looking at them, but I'm going to move forward here, and I'm going to throw up a slide that shows some of the I have received in the past. It's already been brought up. One, properly, informal. Many organizations are informal. It's not up here, but I can see why you could think of lack of focus. It came up. Yes, flat organizations can be challenging because they are different than the very large hierarchical organizations. They also tend to have limited processes and limited controls. Empowering? Yes, they are empowering. All of you have thrown up some good comments, and some of your comments were positive, some were negative. And that's typical with flat organizations because they do change. Plus, flat organizations do have their own challenges. But let me take a step forward and let's define what a flat organization is. If you perform a search, you will find a lot of definitions. Normally start out with an organizational structure that has few or no levels of managers between the executives and lower levels or people on the front line. Other you'll see are skilled workers, and they're specialists, and they tend to be more productive. They don't need a lot of supervision. Many of those definitions really focus on the organizational structure, but they do not focus on the culture of the organizations. Many times the culture of the organizations is what has made them successful. And anybody that's been a project manager knows you have to understand the culture of the organization to be successful when working on a project. Because you can put all the processes in place and all the controls in place, but if people aren't supportive and if it doesn't fit within the organization, you can have some challenges as you work on the project. So let's look at 6 things that a flat organization really has. The first one, views of management. Lay out an organizational structure of a flat organization on a piece of paper, it's really wide rather than tall, which means management span of control could, instead of being 7 or 8 people, could be 15 or 20 people. So there are very few levels of management. There's also a hands-off management approach. What do I mean by that? Staff are given autonomy in their daily work activities. There is the assumption that people know what they're doing. Much management oversight.